Welcome and welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognard Show. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. It's about, oh man, it's almost 10:20. Had some technical difficulties getting started. But here we are in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. We're going to talk about the new Time Magazine Special Edition Dungeons and Dragons that just became available on the 15th, I believe. So there you go. It's pretty nice. That's a shot of the cover. I managed to get a copy sent to me from the wonderful people at Amazon. There'll be a link in the show notes in case you want to get a copy. It's about $15, barring discount. I think there was they jump all over the place with the discount, and maybe when they see the demand, they changed it. But the discount was at 13% when I ordered it a few days ago, and then I noted that, and I went and double checked it at one point, and it was more. Yep, 5%, $14.28 from $14.99 is what it currently says. Of course, they'll charge you tax, so it's going to be a little more than that. But by all means, check it out and see what it is for you. Like I said, it's on Amazon. I'll provide a link, but you can probably find it without. Type in Time Dungeons and Dragons, Time Magazine Dungeons and Dragons, and that should get you there. It's pretty neat. I wonder if this other camera will work for me. This is interesting. We can try doing this. So, yeah, look at that. Yeah, see, my problem with my cameras are, because I don't use them a lot, they're not really set up for excellent coverage with the lighting that I have. But that's okay. We can have a quick look through some of it anyway. Like the table of contents, right? The storied roots, the game's journey, mapping the story, D&D on screen. If I keep it over here a little bit, be easier to see. Stranger Things stories. Who is Vecna? Thieves Making Magic. Modern ventures include Why We'll Always Love Dice, the video game Link, the many partnerships. I'm trying to focus it. The many partnerships. Healing Words is another section. Therapy and Play. The magic of D&D can save us. They almost conclude draconic measures. I think the final draconic measures. There's a couple of my pages in here. And they just have an illustration with some nifty little discussions of Courtney, Mifsud, and Treglia. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Did a very good job. It's a nice illustration. Why don't we flip through some of it and see what we got? It's not going to be very well in focus, but, I'm not trying to replace the magazine for you, just to give you an idea. And we'll get to see some of the art. Storied Roots section has this wonderful art with a white dragon lives in mountain vales or icy caves, says this caption in the upper left. Their breath weapon is a frigid blast of cold damage. Storied Roots, what's it say there? While Dungeons and Dragons had an influence on modern day fantasy, its own inspirations lie in the pulp fiction of the early 20th century. This is an article by Michael Whitwer who we know as a D&D historian and a regular gamer. You know, he's not simply an academic. He gets into it all. Little scratchy picture of a Tolkien cover. Like J.R.R. Tolkien's Elves, the Elves of Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition did not die of old age. Instead, they migrated to another land. Reference to the Grey Havens. I won't read a lot of this. They mention Stephen Colbert in here, in his article right off the bat, talking about the game and Dungeons and Dragons. D&D has changed the world over the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It had fundamentally shifted how people created and interacted with fantasy. Nice picture of nice and stuff. So the illustrations in here are quite beautiful. This is Greek mythology. It says, talking about the Hydra. Got some dice on a dungeon tile. We've got, and this was 3rd edition dungeon. I recognize the stairway they're using there for a dungeon tile, and those early 3.5 pre-painted miniatures from WizKids. Another beholder there with a skeleton. There's somebody got turned to stone, it looks like. So that'll teach you. Chapter 1, Origins. The landmark tabletop role-playing game has gone through many iterations and evolutions in the past 50 years. Has a nice, Ava Erickson writes a nice article on the game's journey, taking us through the many years of the game. It looks like they talk a little bit about the satanic panic. This is the dining room at 330 Center Street. And this room off to the side is a place where Gary had his typewriter and would pound out a lot of his contributions to the game. Peter Atkinson, Richard Garfield, along with Gary, up in the right here. Richard, of course, famous for having developed Magic the Gathering for Wizards of the Coast, and Peter having owned that, and Gary, or Gen Con. Here's some little metal miniatures. Look at those. Nice pictures. Little discussion with opposite top, Baylor's, Treants, Halflings. They talk about how they had to change the names of those after accidentally using some Tolkien IP. Some figures that they have at the Geneva Lake Museum at the Wizard of Lake Geneva Gary Gygax exhibit, which you should go check out. Dr. Joyce Brothers defending D&D as a healthy activity. So there you go. That's a good thing and true. We're going to do a bit of a longer show today, I think. I'm looking at the time now and I'm thinking, yeah, I kind of want to flip through this even more. Whoops. A couple extra pages. Nice image. I think that's a 5th edition screen. That's definitely a 5th edition book there. So using the Chessex battle map. Another nice image there. don't have details on all of the images as to who. In fact, that one at the end, I'm not sure that was the artist's name of the dragon. The, what was it called? Components of a Dragon. I'm not sure if that was the name of the artist or just the person who did the write-up around the dragon. So there you go. It's going to shift in and out of focus. But again, I'm not trying to replace the magazine here. I'm trying to discuss it. Yeah, at the back, Courtney Mifsud Intreglia. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, I apologize if I'm not. This timeline mapping the story. There's the first edition books that I use, of course, original, and the supplements. That is the reprint cover for Blackmore, the one you would get if you went to Drive-Thru-RPG and had it printed on demand. They talk about psionics. Get that out of the way, I guess. There's the World of Greyhawk. Setting being pushed forward there. The cartoon from the game, Spelljammer, Dragonlance, Lankmar. Second edition coming in '89. Dark Sun, one of the many settings of second edition, including Ravenloft. Talk about Planescape there. Dungeons and Dinosaurs, developed for Sega Genesis. Dungeons and Dragons, Warriors of the Eternal Sun. Okay. When Wizards bought them out in '97, I guess, yeah. Got the rest of the timeline here. I'm just going to flip forward. Early Dungeons and Dragons movies that weren't necessarily very good. I enjoyed the one last year very much, so any haters of that can take a hike. It was a funny movie, and if you want to get all goofy about things that were said, I think you're a knucklehead, because it was a really good movie. D&D on screen. Well, they're going to go into that a lot more. Well, the game is all about players working together. Some media mainstays encourage us to just sit and watch. Isn't that the truth? I probably shouldn't lean in behind the screen as much there, huh? It's not good video, huh? So they have a discussion of that, the Titans of Tabletop. There you go with the Dimension 20 group. Of course, they're going to spend some time talking not just about them. This one, I actually don't know them very well. Critical Role Group, I think everybody knows them. At least to have heard of them, if not be someone who watches them. Dungeons and Drag Queens. Jubilee Bob the Drag Queen. Yeah, there you go. Discuss that whole group there. Oh, and then when you see Eggo Waffles, you're going to be looking at a Stranger Things article. They make sure to go into that. And definitely hit the ground running. Yep. Finn Wolfhard, Millie Bobby Brown, Caleb McLaughlin, David Harbour. 2017. Has it been that long since that first came out? My goodness, 7 years ago. And we're getting one more season. And that's coming out next summer? This year? Sometime soon. Not too long, I don't think. Who is Vecna? Interesting that they spend a whole article on just this one villain. But I guess he's been revisited time and time again, and is also visited in as a part of Stranger Things, so get a lot of play out of Vecna for sure. Those are the apocryphal story of Monty Cook convincing some players that there was a head of Vecna, and having one player insist that another player characters chop off his head so that he can have it replaced by the head of Vecna and gain ultimate power, only to wind up destroying his own character. There you go. Thieves Making Magic. This was the 2023 movie that I enjoyed the heck out of. I thought it was really well done, and a good story, and the characters were all well developed, and the humor was right there, but it was, I think, in the style of the best of D&D table humor, where the main story is a serious story with serious consequences, and the humor is just kind of thrown in on the side. Of course, if these are characters in a D&D game, in the movie, we don't get to see the players, so it's the characters that are making the quips and the funny and the whatever. And Chris Pine, just amazing. And Michelle Rodriguez as Holga. Oh, the whole cast was excellent. Here we go. More pictures, more discussion. Well directed by Lifelong Gamer. John Daly, yeah. John Francis Daly. Because there is a John Daly, comedic actor, and I don't want to get them confused because he does use John Francis Daly because of the various restrictions from SAG and having to have a different name from other actors and all of that. Lovely. Modern Ventures, another section. As more players experience the joys of Dungeons & Dragons, the franchise is expanding its reach into other business realms. All right. This might become a sore subject here with the recent discussions of the increase in use of AI with all of Hasbro / Wizards of the Coast properties, Magic the Gathering, Dungeons & Dragons. We're going to see more and more push to move away from the tabletop and move into the digital area. Of course, integrated tools are already used with D&D Beyond and people developing their characters through the electronics and then still using them at the tabletop where they play. But if the push is to move games online, or even to purchase your materials online and then try to find a place to play, I think you're going to find fewer and fewer open spaces at game stores and any business that relies on the sales. If they're losing those sales because of Wizards' push, I don't see how they can supplement non-sales with space. So you may find it harder and harder to find space for games at game shops. Well, of course, we'll be fighting to continue to get the sales from the books, which have been very brisk at Lake Geneva Games here in town. So, and of course, being the birthplace of D&D, it's hard. It would be hard for us to ever not support Dungeons & Dragons, but knowing what I know about the pushes from Wizards to collect players and customers directly and pull them away from brick and mortar stores, I can understand how other places where sales are dropping off, for them to say, well, if Wizards doesn't want to support us and wants to steal our customers, I don't know how we can help them by carrying certain things, but of course they have Magic the Gathering, so there's something to be said for not biting the hand that feeds you. If that's keeping your lights on, and they've made attempts and still do with Magic Arena to pull customers into the electronic zone and away from the tabletop and face-to-face gameplay. But I think we saw one thing during the lockdown, that as that ended, people flooding back to game stores to play face-to-face with their friends. And I think it's very true that people got a taste for what it would be like if game stores didn't exist and you couldn't go and play with your friends and could only play online and electronically. And they clearly voted against it, not against it. They clearly voted that they love playing face-to-face and they want to continue to do that. And the other is an alternative that continues to get better and better as they develop the tools. But nevertheless, not a replacement. Clearly not a replacement. Anywho, soapbox off. Okay. That's a lot of dice. Look at that carpet and those chairs. That's an older picture. But that's a lot of dice. No. Sydney Engelstein's collection. She just loves retro stuff is what it's all about. Fancy dice there. Nice kind of a barrel thing. There's our wonderful Ginny D, a very enthusiastic D&D YouTube influencer. She's pretty wonderful. She's very excited about gaming, that's for sure. And it's good that she's promoting it and keeping people interested. The Video Game Link by Daniel Howley. D&D has influenced gaming from the start, and gaming in turn has helped inspire changes to D&D. It's true. This is a shot from a Baldur's Gate 3 screenshot. Lovely. Other stuff going on here. Cyberpunk 2077. Futuristic nightlife. And D&D above. Dragon Quest 2 from 1987. Yeah, that'll take you back, I suppose, huh? What do we got there? Baldur's Gate 3 again. So I'll discuss all of that stuff, many partnerships, and let's discuss merchandising from Monopoly to Legos to Converse to the candles from Tabletop Candle. Look them up if you want to help. I don't know if they're a small business. I shouldn't just assume. Wait. Missed the page there. Pop-Tarts, lovely. D&D backpacks. The D&D cookbook that, of course, Jeff Aldrich and John Taylor. They're not huge corporations, so if you want to throw a little something. There's a nod to the stamps that came out. These were the U.S. ones. There were UK stamps as well. Check my other videos for details on those. Ooh, we're pushing the 25-minute mark. Okay, well, healing words. Gathering with friends to roleplay challenges and victories has been a powerful medium in both casual and clinical settings. More nice images. Therapy and play. They talk about psychologists and researchers have found that playing D&D can be an effective way to treat mental health conditions. And they discuss that in detail. There's Charlene McPherson, a therapist. Uses nerdy and pop culture interests to help her clients make sense of the world. It's wonderful that people can find help and healing through role-playing games, Dungeons & Dragons in particular. The magic of D&D can save us. A game designer on Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition shares her journey with role-playing games and the power of playing pretend. Kate Welch writes this article. Acquisitions Incorporated. There's that famous tavern scene with the adventures in it. Let me get to the back here. Front cover. This is nice. This will be a credits of all the illustrations that are in there, which is fantastic. There's the masthead for the magazine, breaking down everybody who worked on it. The photo, the photographers, the photo editor, all of the editors. So all of that information is in there for you to peruse. There you go. But again, I'm not trying to replace the magazine, just making sure everybody gets credit where credit is due. Back to that. Back cover, 20-sided stories. The limitless adventure of Dungeons & Dragons began with a roll of the dice 50 years ago, and the journeys have only grown more extraordinary since. Through many imaginations, D&D has adapted and redefined itself, attracting millions of devotees from realms far and wide. So true. All right, well, let's look at that, and it's gives you some idea of what you'd be getting if you picked that up. As I said, the link will be in the show notes, so you've got that going for you if you want to just grab a copy for yourself. That's not a bad idea. Hey, we're almost at a half-hour mark, so we're going to shut her down and just say thank you, everybody, for sticking with me for a longer video. I usually try to keep them a little tighter than this, 10, 12 minutes sometimes. And there you go. But this is now available as of just a few days ago on Amazon, so you can have it in your hands fairly quickly. If you have an Amazon Prime subscription, obviously they do free shipping, and usually it's 1 or 2 days, right? I don't know that there's any shortage on these. It's Big Time Magazine. Although it's a special edition, I can imagine they printed millions of these things, figuring that millions of people who play D&D might be interested in it, being mostly obsessive collectors like myself. I think they probably felt pretty good when they chose the subject matter for a special edition. Obviously, with the 50-year anniversary, it was a natural, but how many they print, they had to think about that for a little bit, I'm sure. Anywho, thank you very much. What do we want to say? Oh, yeah. This was the OK Grognard Show, talking about the Time Magazine D&D 50th edition, special edition cover. The show streams live on Twitch each Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central, and then it's archived on YouTube. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, all of that good stuff is very much appreciated. Don't forget to thank our Patreon supporters: Tom Tullis of Fat Dragon Games, Carlos Lysing of Castle Entertainment, Heath Farndon of the NPD and D20, Dave O'Brien, Heidi and Eric Gygax Garland of Gaxland, Vince Ragusa, a.k.a. the Vince himself, Unauthorized User, and as always, Shane Bradley, DM Extraordinaire. This has been the OK Grognard Show. Came a little bit late, but went a little bit long. From beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.